Hello, welcome to Why We Are Christians. My name is Kent Philpott. This is a conversational interview, and our guest is Ulis Joel Redic. Welcome, Ulis.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
Glad to be here. And I haven't seen you for years.
Yes.
For years, and I gotta say, you've grown up a lot.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah.
You have, but I remember going to the United Methodist Church in Mill Valley,
Oh, yes.
and you were leading the Lighthouse singers.
Yes.
And that was a very special occasion. I know you're born in Berkeley,
Yes.
Berkeley, California, but you're mainly involved in Richmond. Are you living in Richmond, aren't you?
Born at Altabase Hospital in Berkeley.
Okay.
Raised in Richmond, California. Richmond is all I know.
Richmond's all you know?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your family of origin. Start with your grandparents. Where did your grandparents come from?
Grandparents, both sides are out of the greatest state in the Union. That's Arkansas.
Arkansas.
From
Well,
Arkansas.
I have a daughter living in Arkansas.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
And 4 grandkids and 2 great-grandkids, all in Arkansas.
Yes, sir. They come out of places like Malvern, Arkansas, and Prescott, Arkansas, and from Arkansas, those southern states, moving to Northern California for better opportunities, for employment and raising their kids. My parents.
So your grandparents moved from Arkansas here, and so your mom and dad both from in around here?
Both from Richmond, Oakland area.
Yeah. Richmond's very close to here.
Yes, it is.
Where we're sitting. I imagine it didn't take you more than 15 minutes to drive here.
Of course. No more than 15. On maybe if there's a little bit of traffic, 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Coming over the San Rafael Richmond Bridge.
That's right.
You live in Richmond. We're in San Rafael.
That's right.
Okay. What did your dad do when he came to this part of the country?
He was raised in Richmond. He came up in a home kind of sort of similar to the one that I came up in. Went to church faithfully every Sunday. His mother made him go to church. Made him go to church. It was one of those kinds of homes. You know, it's not like a lot of the homes that my generation and the generation after mine that they come up in, where the young people have a choice if they want to go to Sunday school, or they have a choice if they want to go to church on Sunday mornings. He was made to go.
Made to go.
Yes.
Not too dissimilar from myself. We just went. I don't know that he made this, my dad. My daddy wasn't even a Christian at that point. But they had this habit of going to church.
Yes.
And we would go along. When we got old enough, we said, that's it, no more. What did you think about all of that when you were growing up, Ulis? Did you understand much?
Well, you know, we were raised in church. We were made to go to church. Sunday school started at 9:30. Sunday morning worship service, 11 o'clock or 10:30, one of those. And then oftentimes, in the kind of church we came up in, there was an afternoon service. And so that was 3:30.
An afternoon service?
An afternoon service.
That's new to me.
Yeah, so there were in the Black Baptist Church, there's what we called back then, there were outgoing engagements, and so that was when your church fellowshipped with another church. And so sometimes your church would go to their church, sometimes their church would come to your church. And you know,
outgoing
engagements.
That sounds like a great idea.
It was a great idea back in those days. You know, going back maybe 10 years ago, or maybe almost 20 years ago, it was a very common practice, not just among Baptist churches, but any predominantly African American church. An outgoing engagement could happen on any given Sunday. It's not quite as common in these days. You know, it's hard to get a group of people to stay in church for a 2-hour service. A lot of times people are looking for a quick, hour-long service. Okay, it's time to go home, or let me go to Starbucks, wherever, those kinds of things. But yeah, being raised around the church, I look back on those years, those days, and I'm thankful for my parents raising me not just to love church, but to love Jesus Christ. Not just to love Jesus Christ, but to understand that He's the God, He's the Lord, He is the Creator. We come from Him. And so I don't have any resentment, I don't have any regret towards being raised in church the way I was.
So, Ulis, it sounds like that you weren't a rebel.
No,
You weren't.
not at all.
Was there a time, Ulis, when you felt that you were guilty of sin? Did you have much of a sin consciousness?
The only thing that comes to mind, and like you said, I never gave my parents the typical kind of trouble. I'll say it like that, the typical kind of trouble. There's the, you get into your teenage years, and so there's the pressure or the temptation to get involved with drugs or alcohol. I never gave my parents trouble or grief with any of those kinds of things. Now, I did have a bit of a struggle as it relates to my grades in middle school, junior high school. High school was hard for me. That was the challenge. In particular, it went something like this. Trying to focus in on school, my distraction was gospel music.
Gospel music was the distraction.
Gospel music was the distraction. So it wasn't the typical case where it's, your grades are slipping because you watch too much TV. Or in these days, your grades are slipping because you're always on Facebook. No, I wanted to play the piano. I wanted to play the drums. I wanted to play the organ and not do my homework.
Now, looking at your information gathering sheet, it started with the drum.
It did.
It went to the organ, then went to the piano.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. Okay. Now, where did you go to high school?
Oakland School for the Arts.
So, did you do any sports in high school?
I tried it. I tried basketball, and I was horrible. But every now and then, and the other guys, they were much bigger than me, and I every now and then I would shock them by hitting a three-pointer. Every now and then I got lucky, and they didn't expect much from the church guy, the little bitty church guy. But every now and then I would give it to him, So but I knew that my gifting was wrapped around music.
Okay. So growing up in Richmond, was it an all-black school or mostly black school?
High school, I went to Oakland School for the Arts. That was you had a little bit of everybody at
You
the
had a
art
little
school.
bit of everybody.
A little bit of everybody.
I've known a few people from Richmond. For some, it was a difficult growing up.
Yes.
Because of the gangs
Yeah.
that were there, still there.
Still there.
Don't hear much about them anymore. Things, I think, have been improving.
Richmond is definitely on the move in the right direction.
Yeah.
You will still hear about different crimes, shootings,
Sure.
and those kinds of things. But considering what Richmond was going back 10 years ago and years before that, Richmond has definitely made some improvement. And then I think in years to come, in the next 5 years, we're going to see even more change. So I'm proud of my city. I love my city, and I'm also thankful that the city is changing for the better.
Yeah, it's a fairly big city.
It is.
And a good place. So you are at a specialized school, Ulis, in Oakland for people who are musically, maybe artistically, theatrically inclined.
All of it, yeah.
All of that. Okay. And so, what was your experience there? How did you get along?
Well, it was a learning experience, and I mean that both good and bad. But I look back on those years at Oakland School for the Arts, some of the best, some of the best, some of the best years, some of the best days. Coming out of Richmond was, and of course back then Richmond was predominantly African American. Richmond was a black city then. Coming out of a black city into an environment where you haven't really been exposed openly, should I say, to people of people who are involved with homosexuality or any of those, anything like that. It was a learning experience to work with other young people who may not have the same background as you, the same belief system as you, may not even be going in the same direction as you, but the common ground, the common thread is you all love what you do. You love art, you love music, or maybe it's dancing or singing or anything like that. So it was a learning experience. And also I'll share this about the art school there in Oakland. When I got there, I thought I was all that. Young, gifted, arrogant.
Were you arrogant?
Very.
There's your sin.
Yes.
There's your sin.
There it is.
There's your sin, Ulis.
Very arrogant.
I can see that. I know how gifted you are. I mean, we've been talking about you for years.
Wow.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
We know who Ulis Redic is. And
Yes,
we've
sir.
known for years. And yeah, you're gifted, and you recognized it, and you took pride in it.
I did. And so I missed out on a lot of the learning opportunities. Example, when I arrived at the art school, I knew how to read music just a little bit, just enough to get by. But I really knew how to use my ears, just kind of listen to it, play it one time through, and I got it, But what my music teachers, they saw greatness in me, and they wanted me to keep the skill of being able to hear the music, but they wanted me to grow in the area of reading the music. And it was a challenge for me to humble myself, to not necessarily forget the other skills, but to allow myself to be challenged with this area of reading music. And, I think maybe about junior year into my senior year, I finally got with the program. I finally, accepted that this is a skill, reading music that is, that I would need if this is really what I want to do as my career.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you started with the drums. You still do the drums?
Rarely. If the
Really?
drummer,
I was almost sure you were going to say that.
yeah, yeah,
Rarely, because you moved to the organ and then you moved to the piano.
yes, yeah.
And that's the instrument.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Tell me a little bit about the church that you grew up in Richmond.
The church I grew up in, first, there were two churches.
Okay.
So the first, I was born into St. Luke Missionary Baptist Church under the late pastor John H. Green. And so, born into that church, my father, and I was born in 1989, my father accepted his call to preach around 87, 88. And so all I knew was, my father's name is Ulis Redic. All I knew was Reverend Redic. That's all I knew. So being raised at St. Luke, raised in church, strict Baptist background. Eventually, my father got called to pastor a church, ironically, down the street from St. Luke Baptist Church. And now the church he's been pastoring now for 22 years, that's Mount Zion Baptist Church there in Richmond.
Mount Zion Baptist Church. Is that it's affiliated with a particular denomination?
Southern Baptist.
Oh, it's Southern Baptist?
Yes, sir.
Wow, I'm a Southern Baptist too.
Yes.
You know, here we are, a couple of Southern Baptists out in the West.
Yes, sir.
People don't understand about Southern Baptists. We get tarnished quickly.
It's true.
We do. So did the Southern Baptists, because of history, the Southern Baptists defended slavery, and that's why in 1845 they pulled away. Church of South of Mason-Dixon line formed the Southern Baptist Convention. So being a black man, did that ever trouble you, or did you ever wonder about, what is this? I'm in a Southern Baptist church and I'm a black man. Did it ever go through your head?
Well, you know, Mount Zion didn't become a Southern Baptist church. That was recent. So
that's recent?
Yeah, maybe about the last 5 years or so.
Okay.
So we were always just an independent Baptist church.
It's an independent.
Yeah.
Most Baptist churches, even if they identify with the denomination, are pretty well independent anyway.
True.
That's the nature of Baptists.
It is.
Independent. We're
Yes.
not going with the program if we don't like it.
That's right. You know, that's one of the beauties of being a Baptist.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree, Ulis.
Yeah.
I agree. The racial stuff in Richmond, did it ever cross your mind that this was going on in your world?
No. Growing up in Richmond, you know, back then, again, Richmond was a black city. It's not necessarily a black city now. A lot of the African American community have moved over the last 10 years to places like Antioch, California, Sacramento, Elk Grove, Pittsburgh. And then also there's always the group of people who moved out of California, period, because
Just because of California.
California it's hard to live out here. You know,
It is.
It is. And so you know, a lot of people moved, but I never really experienced, and if I did, I didn't know it, racism. Never really met racism head on in Richmond. Eventually, I started coming across the bridge with the late Dr. Helen Stevens.
So yeah, you came over to Marin with Helen. Yeah, I knew Helen.
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah.
Great lady, but I want to get to.
Okay, we'll
I
get there.
want to save that for the next program.
Okay.
Well, that's interesting to me, Ulis, that you were almost insulated in that growing up years, so you weren't troubled by a lot of the inequities that actually existed all around you. You were kind of in an island there.
Yes.
in Richmond. So now we're going back to, I want to go back to your family a little bit. You have brothers and sisters?
I do. I have two sisters.
Two-
Had two brothers. Lost my oldest brother in 2008.
Charles.
Yes, sir.
Charles. Was he older or younger than you?
Older.
Older.
Yeah.
So you're in the scheme of things. You got had two brothers, two sisters. Where are you at in the mix?
I am the baby.
You're the baby.
Yes, I am.
Okay, Ulis.
Yes.
All right. But okay, Charles. Would you want to talk about what
Sure.
happened to Charles?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Charles was away at school attending
Okay.
Philander Smith College, located there in Arkansas.
In Arkansas.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so Charles had graduated from Philander, maybe let's call it '07. And so 2008, late one Saturday night, he was driving to a Bible study. And there was a drunk driver driving on the wrong side of the highway there. And there was a head-on collision. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So he didn't make it. The other woman, the other driver, she did. And one of the great things that comes from that experience is the woman didn't know who Jesus was before that accident. Today, the woman is a born-again Christian.
Okay.
So yeah.
So there's
yeah.
a little bit of a tempering of the blow.
Absolutely.
You guys were close, you and Charles?
Yes.
It sounds like you were a very close-knit family, Ulis.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that, but that changes things. I lost a brother too. When he was only 22.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's a pretty heavy impact.
Yeah.
You've gone to the school in Oakland.
After high school, the original plan prior to my brother's death was to graduate from Oakland School for the Arts and then go down to Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas, to go to school there, Philander Smith College. Well, the car accident happened, he died, and I didn't really want to go to Arkansas anymore.
Right.
More so, I didn't want to leave my parents. And so I stayed, and God opened a door at Patton University.
So tell us about Patton. Now, they're in Oakland.
They are in Oakland.
That's right.
Yes. And so Patton University, different environment. I was able to sing at Patton University.
Sing?
Yeah, I don't just play the piano and the organ. I can sing a little bit. I can sing a little bit.
Okay, Ulis.
And so I was able to sing with a group there in Patton called the Patton Singers.
Okay.
And so Patton being a Christian university, we were able to travel around the Bay Area, travel around Northern California, and Patton University is actually affiliated with Church of God out of Cleveland, Tennessee.
Okay.
And so we went to a lot of the Church of God, what they call campfires, campfire meetings, kind of like revival style meetings. And so I was able to sing with them. And, growing up as a Baptist, oftentimes we're not the most charismatic group.
No.
Right. But going to Patton University, well, Patton, there were some Baptists in Patton, but Patton was more so a Pentecostal affiliated group. And so I oftentimes tell the story of how, I was already saved when I got to Patton, but I think Patton University introduced me to the more Pentecostal side that was in me the whole time. I grew up a Baptist, but by the time I left Patton University, I was a Baptist-costal. So I'm Baptist, but I got a little bit of a Pentecostal flair.
Well, that pretty well describes me as well.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Baptized in the Holy Spirit with speaking in tongues.
Yes, sir.
1968.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I got Pentecostalized.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
You had almost maybe a renewal experience at Patton.
Yes.
That you saw that there was a lot of times our denominations are reactionary.
Yes.
And need to blend and see the value of other people's traditions and experiences.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and we have to. That's good to be open to that.
Yes.
Indeed. So you're. What was your major at Patton?
Music.
Music.
Yes.
Shocking.
Yes. Majored in music, minored in pastoral studies.
Oh, did you? In pastoral studies. Wow. B.B. Patton.
Yes, sir.
Is she black?
Caucasian.
Caucasian, that's what I thought. B.B. Patton, I used to hear her on the radio.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and she developed a school over
Yes, she
there
did.
in Oakland.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. Is it still going?
The school, it's not as strong as it was in years past, but there's still, it's still there.
It's still moving?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You never taught there?
Never taught there. No.
Okay. I know you teach. We're going to get to Lighthouse
Yeah.
next program.
Okay.
Next program. How about the rest of your family? The other two sisters and brothers?
Well, my two sisters are both involved in the medical field.
Medical?
So
okay.
yeah, so one sister works at Altabates, and my youngest sister, but she's not the baby, I'm the baby, but she's the youngest of the sisters. She works at a hospital out in, I believe it's Martinez.
Okay.
And so both of them are doing extremely well.
Good.
I love both of them. And then my other brother is in Sacramento.
Okay.
In Sacramento. So
Okay.
everybody's doing well.
Okay. How about your folks?
They are my father, pastor of Mount Zion Baptist in Richmond. My mother, I love her dearly. I call her every day.
Oh, do you?
I call her every day. We talk every day. My dad, we talk every other day. You know,
Okay.
but I love both of them. Yeah.
Okay. So that's your background. You've graduated from Patton. Your family strong and supportive in all kinds of ways, and you're just about ready to launch yourself.
Yes.
Just about ready to get out there and see what's available for all Ulis Redic. Where'd you get the name Ulis?
My dad's name is Ulis,
okay.
and I think it's just a family name.
Just a family name.
Yeah, on through the generations.
I got to tell you, you're the only Ulis I know. All right, Ulis. Well, we're going to be finishing up here with our first conversation with Ulis Joel Redic, and we'll be back for part 2 coming up. So long.